Hi, Brian, 34, and this Christmas, I finally learned what it feels like to stop being the family doormat and start being the storm. It started, as many betrayals do, with wrapping paper, Christmas Eve. My daughter, Olivia, 8, and I had just arrived at my parents' house for what I'd hoped would be a warm, predictable holiday. We brought a thoughtful little gift bag, coffee blends for my folks, wine for my brother and his wife. Nothing extravagant, but meaningful. As always, my brother Edward was already there, surrounded by his entourage, his wife Evelyn and their 3 kids, loudly demolishing cookies and taking over the living room like royalty returned to court. And as always, I was background furniture, useful, quiet, out of the spotlight. Dinner was fine. The turkey wasn't dry for once. My dad asked me 2 questions total, both about traffic. My mom acted like she was auditioning for Grandma of the Year, but only when addressing Edward's kids. Olivia got 1 compliment: "What a nice braid." Then came the gift exchange. My dad stood by the tree like Santa bitter assistant, reading tags and handing presents to the grandkids one by one. First, Edward's oldest unwraps a brand new laptop. Cheers. Applause. Next, the middle one, high-end wireless headphones. Then little Anna, their youngest, opens a freaking PS5. The room exploded. Edward whipped out his phone to record the chaos. Evelyn practically wept with joy. And Olivia sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, waiting. My father pulled a small, flat package from under the tree. "Here you go, Olivia." She smiled politely, peeled the paper back, and held up a $3 notebook. A spiral-bound, floral-patterned notebook. Dollar store special. I watched her try so hard to smile. I watched her look at me, confused, but trying to be strong. I looked at my parents. Then Edward. Then the towering pile of toys, electronics, and privilege under that tree. And I stood. Kitchen. Now. My dad sighed. "Brian, don't do this kitchen. Now." What followed was a brief, explosive lesson in gaslighting. "We kept it fair this year. You're overreacting. She doesn't need a laptop, she's 8. Buy it yourself if you want her to have more." Buy it myself? With what? The money they'd been stealing from me for a year? I didn't say that yet. Instead, I turned around, helped Olivia into her coat, and we left without another word. Drove home in silence, her notebook in her lap like a badge of shame. But when she asked me that night, "Daddy, did I do something wrong?" that's when everything snapped. And no more showing up. No more paying quietly. No more letting them rob me with the smile. By morning, I'd uncovered a full year's worth of unauthorized transfers from my account, over $8,000, all quietly rerouted under the name Family Fund. Laptops, PlayStations, insurance, streaming services. A shared credit card. They had turned me into a human ATM for the Golden Child's family Christmas. I spent the entire night reversing every access point. Bym. I had 67 missed calls. The voicemails came in like waves, first confusion, then anger, then guilt-flavored desperation. I ignored everyone. Olivia and I spent the day at the library. She picked out a stack of books taller than her backpack, and we ate sandwiches on a park bench while squirrels tried to rob us. I smiled more that day than I had all month. By the time we got home, my phone had finally died. When I plugged it back in, the screen lit up like Times Square. 100 plus missed calls, 87 texts, 20 voicemails. Then came the knock. 3 sharp, angry raps on the door. I peeked through the peephole. My father, my mother, and Edward, leaning against the wall like some smug backup dancer. I cracked the door and stepped outside. "What are you doing, Brian?" My dad snapped. "The insurance is canceled, the credit cards declined, and we're locked out of Netflix." I didn't yell. I didn't flinch. I said, "I removed you from my accounts." "You can't do that," my mom barked. "We've been on them for years." "Exactly," I replied. "Years of me paying, you stealing, and Olivia getting scraps while your other grandkids swim in electronics." Edward smirked. "You're being dramatic. She's a kid. She doesn't even care." I stepped closer. "She cried herself to sleep last night. She asked if she did something wrong. And that was your doing." My mother started to cry. My father started to raise his voice. Edward tried to explain that we're family, and we help each other. So I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots, transfer after transfer, $500 here, $300 there, $8,000 gone, all without my permission, my mom gasped. We didn't know, don't, I cut in. Don't insult me, you knew, you just assumed I'd never check. Edward tried to spin it. We were just trying to make holidays special, for the kids. I looked him dead in the eye. Then maybe you should have paid for it. I turned and walked back inside. Locked the door behind me. Olivia was on the couch, reading Charlotte's Web. She looked up, wide-eyed. I smiled and said, "Everything's okay, sweetheart." And for once I meant it. I didn't sleep that night, not from rage, no, that part had passed. What kept me up was the clarity. For the first time in years, everything made sense. The fairness, the favoritism, the sudden missing funds. It had never been about oversight. It was entitlement. Generational, deliberate, cold. Bym. I had finished the full audit. $8,400 siphoned off in the past year alone. All traced to a family fund that didn't exist, at least not for my family. And then I saw it. Hidden under account settings, authorized users. 2 names. Lawrence Ramirez, Barbara Ramirez. My parents, they still had access to my account left over from a hospital stay in my 20s. I'd forgotten. They hadn't. I deleted them in seconds. The screen confirmed it like a blessing. Access revoked. Then I canceled everything else. Car insurance? Gone. Supplemental health policy? Cancelled. Shared credit card? Shut down. Streaming accounts? Logged out and password changed. Each step felt surgical, cold, controlled. It wasn't revenge. It was accounting. The next morning made Olivia pancakes, chocolate chips, strawberries, the works. She giggled when I made a pancake in the shape of a heart and said it looked like a potato. I didn't care. She was smiling again mid-movie, stepped away and called my bank. Confirmed the last of the transfers were blocked. They flagged the old activity as suspicious. I asked if I could report it as fraud. You'd need to file a police report, sir. I hesitated. Was I really ready to press charges against my parents? Not yet, but the option was on the table now. For once. At 3:15 p.m., I got a final voicemail from Edward. Bro, just can you talk to them? They're freaking out. I don't even think they realized what they were doing. Look, can we all just sit down like adults? Sure, Edward, we can sit down. After you Venmo me $8,400. I turned off my phone. That night, Olivia snuggled next to me on the couch, still clutching that awful $3 notebook like it might grow into something beautiful. Daddy, she whispered, did Grandma really think a notebook was enough? I looked down at her. No, sweetheart. She thought it was too much. And that was the moment it all clicked for Olivia, too. She didn't cry. She didn't pout. She just rested her head on my chest and said, then I don't think she gets to be Grandma anymore. I held her a little tighter. She wasn't wrong. The fallout began with silence. Not from them, God no. My parents called every hour on the hour for the first 2 days. My dad left messages that alternated between stern, be the bigger man, speeches, and borderline threats. My mom leaned full soap opera sobbing voicemails about how she didn't mean to hurt anyone, and how family always forgives. Forgiveness. They stole from me, humiliated my daughter, gaslit me in their kitchen like I was the one ruining Christmas. The only person I'd consider forgiving was myself for letting it go on this long. Edward finally texted me on day 3. One of those, I'm staying out of it, but also you're being selfish, masterpieces. Then came the kicker. The kids miss Olivia. I stared at that message for a full minute. His kids, who barely looked at Olivia that night, who called her weird the last time they visited, missed her. No, they missed the dynamic, the hierarchy, the throne room where Edward's family reigned and mine sat quietly in the shadows. Not anymore. The next week, I started therapy. I didn't go because I was broken. I went because I was tired of being bent. My therapist Donna was a sharp, patient woman in her 50s who didn't blink when I told her the whole story from start to finish. She just nodded, jotted a note, and said, "You've spent your life being dependable, Brian. That's not the same as being valued." It hit harder than I expected. By session 3, I was unpacking things I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. How I always felt like a burden as a kid. How every birthday or Christmas came with conditions. How my dad once praised Edward for getting a C in science, but scolded me for getting an A- in math. Olivia, bless her, adjusted to the silence from that side of the family like it was background noise. We filled the space with pancakes, library trips, board games. She never asked about her grandparents again. She didn't need to. I changed my phone number 2 weeks later, gave it to Olivia's school, my job, a few close friends, not to them. Then I did something I should have done a long time ago, started a new savings account. Just for Olivia, just for us. No shared names, no extra cards, no more family funds. The next day, a certified letter arrived from my parents. I opened it slowly. Formal language, no warmth, no apology, just, we're concerned about your behavior. Cutting us off financially was inappropriate and hurtful. We'd like to discuss terms to repair this relationship. Terms.as if this was a business deal. I folded the letter neatly, slid it back into the envelope, and dropped it in the trash. They wanted negotiation? They should have thought of that before treating their son like an overdraft account and his daughter like spare change. They weren't done. 2 days after the letter, there was another knock at my door. This one wasn't aggressive like before, just soft, persistent. I looked through the peephole. Edward, alone. He stood there in jeans and a hoodie, hands shoved in his pockets, staring at the ground like a kid caught cheating on a test. I considered not opening the door, but curiosity won. Cracked it. Look, he said immediately, I'm not here to fight. I crossed my arms. Then why are you here? He shrugged. Mom and Dad are spiraling. Dad's talking about consulting a lawyer. Mom's saying she wants to force family counseling like it's a hostage negotiation. Not my problem. Yeah, I get that. But they're not letting it go. They're talking about getting their money back. I blinked. Their money? He scratched his head. They said something about investments made in good faith, like everything you paid for was a loan to them or something. I stared at him, silent. He added quickly, I don't agree with them. I'm just the messenger. I stepped out, closed the door behind me. Edward, they stole from me. They took money from my account without permission and used it to buy your kids gifts while giving mine a dollar store notebook. And you want to talk about investments? He looked uncomfortable. Yeah, it's messed up. I'm not defending it. You benefited from it. I didn't ask them to take your money. No, but you didn't ask where it came from either. You didn't question how unemployed grandparents could afford a PS5, a laptop, and a $200 pair of headphones all at once. He hesitated. I thought maybe Dad hit a bonus or something. I shook my head. You knew. Deep down, you knew. He dropped his gaze. I didn't come to argue, he muttered. I came to warn you. They're not letting this go. They want their comforts back. I smiled coldly. Tell them the ATM is closed. Permanently. He turned to leave, paused. For what it's worth, Olivia's a great kid. She is. She deserves better than all this. She's getting better. He nodded. Looked like he wanted to say more, then walked off without another word. That night, I got an email from a law firm. The subject line, pre-litigation notice, Ramirez v. Ramirez. I opened it, scanned it. It was laughable. My own parents were threatening to sue me for withholding shared family assets, they claimed. I had made verbal financial agreements over the years and now owed restitution for disruption of family obligations. No actual lawsuit filed, just a threat, a tactic. I printed it out, wrote in red Sharpie across the top. This is what betrayal looks like. Then I pinned it to the inside of my closet door. Not to scare me. To remind me, blood may be thicker than water, but it's also a lot messier when spilled. The lawsuit threat didn't scare me. It infuriated me, but it didn't scare me. If anything, it clarified something I'd always tried to avoid admitting. My family didn't see me as a son. I was a subscription service, a donor, useful when active, disposable when canceled. And now that I had hit unsubscribe, they were scrambling to claw their way back in, but I was done. Instead of replying to their pre-litigation email, I forwarded it to my actual lawyer. Yes, I had one. Now, her name was Tasha, and she was a bulldog in heels. She read the email and laughed. Let them try, she said. You'll counterclaim with documented theft, unauthorized access, emotional distress, and identity abuse. They'll fold before it hits a courtroom, Still, it made me sick to my stomach that it came to this. Meanwhile, Olivia was healing in ways that humbled me. One evening, while we were making cookies, she paused mid-stir and asked, "Daddy, if someone hurts you, but they're family, do you still have to love them?" I knelt beside her. "You never have to love anyone who doesn't treat you with love." She nodded slowly, like she was filing that away somewhere important. Then she added, "Even if they say sorry just because they got caught?" God, she saw it. All of it. "Yes," I said. "Especially then." That night, I gave her something small. Just a little spiral notebook like the one they'd given her. But this one wasn't cheap. It had a leather cover, gold-trimmed pages, and her name engraved in cursive. Olivia R. She held it like a treasure. "It's beautiful. You deserve beautiful." She didn't say anything. Just hugged me so hard my glasses shifted sideways. Later that week, we were invited to a kid's birthday party, one of Olivia's classmates from school. Edward's family was also there. It was the first time we'd seen them since everything. Edward nodded at me across the yard. I gave a curt nod back. Evelyn, the peacemaker, tried to chat with Olivia. "Hi, sweetie. Wow, you've gotten so big. We miss you at Grandma's house." Olivia looked up at her calmly and said, "I don't miss being treated like I don't matter." Evelyn blinked, flushed pink, then mumbled something and walked off. I didn't scold Olivia. She hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't been rude. She had spoken her truth with more grace than most adults could manage. She was my daughter, and she was watching me, learning from me. That's why I couldn't back down now. Not for guilt, not for tradition, not even for peace. Because peace built on silence and self-erasure isn't peace. It's a muzzle. I would not raise my daughter in a house of muzzles. The final break came in the form of a brunch invitation. Hand-delivered, by mail, a printed card, floral border, gold foil script like they were inviting me to a wedding instead of a whitewashed intervention. "Let's talk things over as a family. Sunday at 11. Home is always open. Love, Mom and Dad." I held the card in my hands for a long time. Not because I was tempted, but because of how normal they wanted it to look. No apology, no accountability, just, "Come eat pancakes and pretend you weren't preparing to sue us 2 weeks ago." Olivia saw it on the counter later and asked, "Are we going?" I said, "Do you want to?" She frowned. "Will they pretend nothing happened again?" "Almost definitely." "Then I don't want to go." That was all I needed. I didn't RSVP. I didn't show, but I did write something. The night before their little brunch, I sat down and drafted a letter. Not to win them over. Not to start a new chapter. Just closure. The kind they never offered me. "Dear Mom and Dad, I received your invitation. I'm not coming. Not because I'm angry, though I was. Not because I want revenge, though I could. But because I'm finally choosing peace. The real kind. Not the fake smiles. Not the sweep it under the rug peace. The kind that comes from ending a cycle. For years, I showed up. Paid the bills. Covered the gaps. Smiled when you ignored me. Bit my tongue when you praised Edward for things I did first. I thought if I just kept giving, eventually I'd earn your love. Your equal love. Turns out, I was just subsidizing it. You stole from me. You used access I gave you in a moment of vulnerability to siphon money for years. Then, when confronted, you called me dramatic. When Olivia was hurt, you said she was too young to care. You taught me, clearly, that in your house, love has a price, and mine is permanently discounted. So, here's my final gift. The truth. I don't need anything from you. Not brunch. Not explanations. Not guilt-soaked apologies whispered under breath. I've built a life without your help. I've raised a daughter who values herself, who knows her worth, who knows that family isn't just blood, it's behavior. You are no longer welcome in our lives. Not because of one bad Christmas, but because you made disrespect a tradition. Goodbye. Brianni printed it, signed it, sealed it in an envelope, and mailed it the next morning. Certified. Let them open it over their mimosas. Let them feel the weight of a door closing. 3 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. "You really think you're better than us now? That girl will grow up bitter without her family. You'll see." No name. But I recognized the voice behind the words. I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked the number and opened the savings account Olivia and I had been building. It had just crossed 5,000. We were saving for a road trip that summer. She wanted to see the ocean. Let's pick a place, she said that night, crawling into my lap with a travel magazine. Somewhere really far away. I smiled. You want beaches or mountains? She grinned. Both. Deal. That night, I dreamed of coastlines. Not Christmas trees, or courts, or letters, or locks. Just waves and wind and her laughter echoing down a boardwalk. And for once, I didn't wake up tense. I woke up free. It's been 3 months. And no more calls. No more texts. No more guilt-wrapped invitations pretending to be reconciliation. Just silence. And silence has never felt so peaceful. Olivia and I took that road trip. We drove up the coast in my beat-up sedan, stopping for roadside ice cream and silly souvenirs. She made me pull over every time she saw an animal, even if it was just a squirrel. We stayed in a cabin by the beach, no Wi-Fi, just books, board games, and bonfires. One night, as we lay under the stars, she asked, "Do you think they'll ever say sorry?" I stared up at the sky for a long moment. Maybe, but sometimes people say sorry because they want things back, not because they're truly sorry. She nodded slowly, then yawned and rolled onto her side. "I'm glad you picked me," she mumbled, almost asleep. I blinked. "What do you mean? You didn't let them treat me like less. You picked me." And just like that, every doubt, every pang of guilt, every what if I'd carried since Christmas, dissolved. Because I had picked her. I picked the quiet dignity of truth over the loud noise of tradition. I picked being a present father over being an absent son. I picked the little girl holding a $3 notebook over the people who thought that was enough. Back home, the apartment feels different now. Not bigger, not fancier, but warmer. More hours. Olivia's drawing on the couch right now, in that leather-bound notebook with her name on it. She's sketching a beach with cartoon dolphins and a son wearing sunglasses. She looks up, grins. I gave him eyebrows this time. I laugh. I'm not just free from my past. I'm building something better in its place, day by day, pancake by pancake. And I will never apologize for choosing the family I raise over the one that tried to raise me wrong. We're okay now. Better than okay. We're home.